Welcome to Skills to Pay Your Bills. I'm your host, Don Moragne, and my segment is called The Wealth Zone University. As you know, the Wealth Zone University is all about business. Our motto is to change your mind about money so that you can change your financial future. And we really believe that being in business for yourself is a way to change that financial future. Today we're going to be talking about something that's really important to all businesses, and we believe that's the banking relationship. And the most important thing in the banking relationship in our mind is not the bank, it's the banker. And so we're very privileged today to have my friend, my colleague, and a very long banking associate with us, who in my mind is the premier banking advocate. And his name is Marvin Clark. Marvin, welcome to the Wealth Zone University. And thank you for being here to share all the wonderful things with our audience that they need to know about a banking relationship.
Thanks for having me.
So first of all, tell us who Marvin Clark is, and take your time. This is time to brag.
Well, Don, you know, it's hard for me to brag on myself. Lots of things going on in my life, and I just pass them up as if they're experiences that I experience, and things that make you stronger. But I've been in banking for the past 20 years. Currently, I'm a senior relationship manager for Wells Fargo here in D.C., vice president in the D.C. office. And on a daily task, my role is I manage clients between 5 and 50 million in revenue. I look at everything from their cash management needs to their lending needs to their growth needs. So my goal, my job, is to make sure they attain the goals that they're trying to attain through the use of the banking services that I offer. Graduated from Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia.
All right, Old Dominion.
Concentration, of course, was finance and economics. Had a strong interest in international finance, as we were talking earlier.
Yes.
Thought I'd be a international debt equity swap banker as opposed to a business banker, but this is a great industry to be in. I mean, you learn a lot, you see a lot of people, and you do a lot of different things. In my group, we sort of have a hybrid of clients. The clients include small businesses, whether they're churches, whether they're nonprofits, auto industry individuals, mechanics, janitorial services, contractors, even some small investment firms. So I run the gamut of the industry. So I see a lot, and I get to meet a lot of great people and understand how they've started their business, their goals and aspirations, and what the goals they're trying to achieve. So definitely a lot going on. I know I'm probably not bragging on myself, I'm bragging more on my clients. But I've been doing it for a long time. I love what I do. My job is to be your advocate, to make sure that you get the resources you need within the institution. My organization, of course, is Wells Fargo, but whether you're Wells Fargo, Bank of America, SunTrust, any of the other big players, it's all about that relationship you have with your banker. So at the end of the day, that's pretty much who I am. I'm about building relationships and making sure that my clients attain and achieve the goals that they're after.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to brag on you just a little bit, okay?
All right.
Because you and I have been associates since the late 90s.
Correct.
And you have done things for our clients that I think are phenomenal, just in terms of just being able to take our clients and take them from point A to point B to point C in their growth as businesses. And so that's why I value your exchange here tonight with the audience, because you have shown me and shown our clients that being with a bank is not simply about transactional things.
Right.
It's about learning how to grow, learning how to become bankable, as we call it. But it's the right person. That's why we always say it's the banker, not the bank.
Correct.
But you are continuing to evolve Marvin Clark as a banker and as an entrepreneur. And so you've gone back to grad school, right?
I have gone back to grad school. I'm currently enrolled at William & Mary, obtaining my master's degree. And you know, part of the master's degree program at William & Mary is that they ask you to develop what we call a wicked problem. And a wicked problem is one of those problems that has many solutions, but no one solution will solve that problem. And I've chosen something that's near and dear to me, still in banking, that I've chosen to research. And my research is creating a sustainable model, profitable model for African-American banks within the United States. It is predicted, and I've got this from my research that I've gone through and found that by 2028, they anticipate that there will be less than 4 or 5 African-American owned banks within the United States. So my goal is to figure out how can I help create that sustainable model, even though I'm working for a majority bank at Wells Fargo, but how can I learn from that and take that learning and pass it on not only to other business owners, but also maybe bank presidents of those small minority-owned banks throughout the country.
Wow.
So there's a lot of things I do have going on, and I think William and Mary, and of course my background in banking, will help me facilitate that.
Wow. Well, that's interesting, because you said when you came out of school, you wanted to be in international finance.
Correct.
And now you're back in school, and actually you're talking about becoming a banking entrepreneur. And so that's a progression.
Exactly.
That is quite significant. And so when you first came out of school wanting to be an international banker, what drove you to that?
I think what drove me in that direction because quote unquote international made it sexy and hot.
Okay.
But I think that as you mature and grow older, you find that opportunity is there in front of you. So why look outside when it's there? And I think just by my relationships with the clients that I have and seeing what they go through on a daily basis, and also seeing what I've learned throughout my banking career at various institutions, that there's opportunity here and opportunity to grow. So that sort of has shifted my mindset. We like to talk about in school, and I'll keep reverting back to school. I don't like to talk about it a lot, but having that Renaissance mindset, meaning that there are various different parts that make up the universe, and look at each individual part as its own, and take that and make it your own, and take different pieces of it to solve your problems and make it better solutions for you.
Okay, that helps. And you bring all of that knowledge to bear in your relationships with your clients. I've seen that, and I'm sure that's what you continue to do.
Correct.
So from your experience, I want the audience to get to know bankers. Okay. So from your experience at various banks in various positions, what does a banker really do?
What does a banker really do?
Yeah.
We work hard, we work long hours. Sometimes you feel as if you're a therapist because you do hear a lot of interesting stories. Okay. And you also have to, sometimes you're a judge because you're trying to decide what's the truth and what's not the truth. You're a negotiator because you're constantly negotiating with the client, with your internal members, team members, if it's looking at a credit or looking at other products within the bank. So you're looking at everything. I mean, we look at it from a holistic standpoint, so we're relationship driven. I'm just not going to talk to you about your specific need, and you may come to me and say, I need a loan and just a loan only. I want to know about the whole picture, the whole story. I want to know your story. I want to understand who you are, why you started the business, and where you're trying to go with that business, and what keeps you up, keeps you up at night. That's a big question we ask a lot, because we're trying to understand and drill down to what's really the driving need and how we can assist in solving the driving need, and then prepare you for what's coming in the future. I always like to talk about, there's another client that I work with that's, he owns a small business in DC, has a large real estate holdings, and just talk about, how he has grown through that process. His initial acquisition was one building, then he moved to two buildings, and now he owned a sizable chunk of or massive land in DC, and he's growing with that. And my goal with him is to help him understand that don't look at today, but let's look at tomorrow, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 30 years from now. What are your needs going to be? Are you setting up those retirement plans? Are you setting up those 401k plans? Are you setting up those insurance products that you need to support your family in case something should happen to you? Are you making your will? Are you making sure it's in proper and it's in order, things of that nature? So that's when I come to you, Don, and say, Don, can we pull in your expertise? So as a banker, we pull in various people to make it a more of a holistic approach and not just be about us, the bank, and you just getting a loan. Because it's more than just a loan to you as a client or for a place for you to go and make a deposit. We do care. We want to make sure you grow. So we're all about helping, as most economists like to say, small businesses are the economic growth of America. So
economic engine.
Exactly.
So is it safe to say that a small business who wants to become sustainable, become a going concern, that they're just not looking to put their money in the bank, deposit it, and write checks. They're looking to find someone inside that banking institution or any other banking institution who's going to look at them holistically like you've just talked about?
I think that's very important that they do that. It's because we are more than just a place to take money, deposit, and pull it out when you need it. I mean, it's about building that relationship and looking at financial statements. We have conversations with clients daily about, are your financial statements in order? If you're coming to me for a loan, are your financial statements? Do you have your balance sheet? Do you have your income statement? Do you understand the difference between positive net income and negative net income, and how that affects your ability to get a loan, and how it affects your ability to grow or access to capital overall? So the goal is to understand every nut and bolt about how you built your business and the transactions that make up that business. If you're receiving receivables, that's all part of bringing that. Where is that receivable on your income statement or a balance sheet? How's that flowing? Are your margins are your products properly margined that you're actually going to make a profit? So our goal is to make sure you attain that, and profitability is the key.
Fantastic. So do you learn all of that in banking school as you're going through? Was that something that came with Marvin when he came out of undergrad?
I think it's something that's innate within you to build relationships. You do learn a lot. We do go through a lot of training. We do a lot of classes, a lot of courses. But as I tell my clients, and when I'm talking to prospective clients, it's not about the bank. It is going back to the relationship again, what you can bring to the table. I like to think that I bring a wealth of knowledge in terms of being able to analyze financial statements and answer your questions and help you prepare for the next phase in your business. But also, I'm able to talk, if you want to talk about your kids going to college, we can talk about that. Or you want to talk about buying your first home, we can talk about that. So the goal is to understand all those different pieces and bring that together. So you do learn it in not a business, not banking school, bank training. There's a lot of that. Every bank has their own sets of training. But when it comes down to just knowing the person and understanding, that's more of an innate thing you need within you as an individual.
And that, in my mind, makes the perfect banking, because it's a relationship between a person and another person who have things that will complement each other. And it's kind of how you and I fit together so well, because our philosophy is basically the same about the businesses that we work with.
Correct.
On the financial side, I like to know the entire spectrum and be able to work with the entire spectrum, and that's what you do on your side too. So we're going to take a break in a couple of minutes. But together we develop what we call the banking etiquette, a set of action steps that we think will help the average business owner understand what he or she has to do in order to become what we call bankable.
Correct.
And so in our next segment, that's what we're going to talk about. But what I want to leave with before we go to break is that these steps aren't magic. They aren't special. They're just things that we think should be thought about, put in place, and then actually planned for in order for a company to be able to become a bankable and allow you, Marvin Clark, and other bankers to become advocates for the business.
Great.
So stay where you are. Don't go away. Get something to drink, because the second part, Marvin's going to tell us all the inside scoop. Stay there. Hi, everyone. The objective of the Wealth Zone University is to change your mind about money, to change your financial future. Hi, I'm your host, Don Moragne. In the Wealth Zone University, my guests and I talk about a wide variety of business, financial, and other worldly topics. We are seeking to both educate and entertain you. We emphasize that the informations and discussions are my opinion, perspectives, and ideas, and those of our guests. We in no way intend to deliver or provide financial, tax, or business advice. You should consult with your tax, accounting, financial, insurance, and legal advisors regarding the impact, application, or pertinence of any topic or opinion that we share on the Wealth Zone University. Thank you for being a part of our audience, and please continue to communicate with us through email and Twitter, because this is your show. Welcome back. This segment is probably one of the most interesting segments that I've had with one of the most interesting guests that I've had on. But it's so valuable to you as a business owner, because money, positive cash flow, makes or breaks the business. But being able to handle that money and also get capital infusion can make or break the future of your business. So Marvin, we were talking about banking etiquette, the steps that we put together that we think everybody should know about. We're going to talk about several of them over the next few minutes, but
Okay.
The thing that I see most is that clients come to the bank without the proper documentation that will help you to know their business, to analyze their business, and to help them.
Correct.
What kind of documentation should the average small business, small and medium-sized business, have already available and be sharing with their banker in order for you to be able to help them?
Okay. Well, so I'll just start with the basics. The basic is we need a tax ID number. We need articles of incorporation, or however you form your corporation. You need to make sure you have those and they're properly in order, and that you paid your fees to whatever government entity you operate in, so that we make sure that everything is, there are no fines or anything pending.
Right. And they have to be in good standing.
In good standing, right, to make sure they're in good standing.
That would help.
That's the start, so that's the basic. But if you're coming to me, and that's just to open accounts, and that's part of the Patriot Act, so we need the information to know your customer.
Okay.
But from a financial perspective, we definitely would like to see a business plan. We'd like to look at financial statements, income statement, and balance sheet. And if they haven't gone to someone like as yourself, a professional CPA, to have that prepared, then maybe they could do it through a QuickBooks version or something. Just give us something simple so that we can take a look at least form the framework. So I think those are the first initial steps, and then we move on from there. That begins the dialogue to have that conversation.
Okay, okay. So when they come to you, let's just say they don't have formal compiled financial statements. Will the profit and loss and the balance sheet be sufficient? You don't need a statement of cash flows and disclosures and all those other things that go along with it normally?
Depending on the credit size, that would be a requirement, and we would require to have that depending on the loan size or the request amount.
All right.
Anything small, let's say if you're looking for under $100,000, you're probably going to look at what we would call a low doc loan, a loan that doesn't require a lot of documentation, because it's going to be more scored on the personal side.
Okay.
But it's more important for you as a business owner to have those financials so you understand where you are and where you're trying to go. If you don't know that you're profitable, then how am I going to know that you're profitable?
Exactly.
And if you're not profitable and can't repay my loan, then I can't give you a loan, or no bank that you would work with to be able to give you a loan as well.
And that becomes the relationship between the accountant and the business owner, because the business owner has to make sure that their accountant explains all those numbers and the profits and loss and the relationships to them. And as we both say, positive cash flow is what makes or breaks the business.
Correct.
So I come to you and I give you financial information. What do you do with it?
I take the information, I first take a look at it and do I do a mini analysis just to make sure it makes sense to me, to make sure the numbers make sense. And because there have been times where clients do bring me financial statements and they don't make sense. The net income line, the net income isn't where it should be. Revenues are upside, nothing matches. Revenues on a balance sheet. So there are a lot of things that go on. So we will have to make sure they're valid financials and they make sense. So basically I go through them, read them, do a brief analysis, then I come back and have a conversation with the client just to talk through them with them. So to make sure they understand what they presented to me and I understand what are some of the line items, and are they one-time expenses, are there things that may be reoccurring. So just understanding their capital X needs, and make sure that if they have some leasing opportunities or want to buy some equipment, how can we facilitate that. So just to understand all of the moving parts of your financial statements, then have that conversation with them.
So the financial statement is basically a snapshot that you use to figure out, hey, this is where we think they are.
Correct.
You determine whether or not they're valid or valid places to begin the discussion.
Correct.
And then you actually begin to branch out the discussion based upon what you've seen in those financial statements.
Correct.
Now, do you actually go through and do ratio analysis and those kinds of things?
Depending on the loan size, I do the ratio, because what happens next? Once I've had the chance to review the financials, had the conversation with the client, then I have to present to sometimes a committee, sometimes it's to a credit officer, and have that conversation. So they'll ask me specific questions about the strength of the company's ability to repay the debt. Are they cash flush or cash weak? And then they'll also ask, tell me something about the owner. Give me some background on the owner. Are they credible? So we look at all those. There's various moving parts. There's not one dynamic of a credit request that we look at to say, hey, this is a no or this is a yes. Because at the end of the day, my job is, if I can't tell you yes today, then how can we structure something in the future to get you to the yes? So no's do come, but it's okay. As long as you have that no and an explanation of why it was no and how we can strategize to get you to the yes. And that's where you come into play.
Excellent, excellent. No question about it. But you said something that I think most people don't realize. if I come to the banker, I think the banker's the one who makes the decisions.
Yeah.
And actually, you have to know me, my business, and everything about my business so you can persuade
Correct.
someone else inside your internal process.
Correct.
To that I'm bankable.
Correct.
So is that the same in all banks, or does it vary from bank to bank?
It's the same in all banks in terms of you having to go to you have thresholds of approval.
Okay.
But you still have to go through the process. Some banks, depending on the size, have credit committees. The organization I work for, Wells Fargo, because we're such a large and efficient and streamlined organization, we have senior credit officers that we go through the process with and have those conversations.
Okay.
And they're more of negotiations. And I mentioned earlier that part of being a banker is knowing how to negotiate. So it's negotiation, looking at the financials, looking at the request, looking at the bank policy and seeing where that fits within bank policy. Are they within guidelines and are they meeting our thresholds? And then you make that determination. And you continue to have those dialogues, because we're also going to structure that request while we're having that conversation with the credit officer. So you may come to me and say, Marvin, I'd like a commercial mortgage with a 30-year fixed rate. And I'll say, I'm sorry, we don't do those. Well, I could look at something that's a 5-year term with a 20-year amortization, meaning that in 5 years it would balloon, but I'd still give you that 20-year payment in order to make those payments. So there are different things that we do on our end to try to assist educating the client in understanding the process, understanding the various products and services that we offer as bankers, that they, just to make sure that, you do things on the residential or personal side, but it doesn't necessarily equate to what happens on the business banking side.
So I hear from the discussion that what I bring to you and what I share with you about my business and myself and how I prepare my business and myself when I first established a relationship with you determines how well you can then advocate for me.
Correct.
When you go to the internal process.
Correct.
So I really have to be straightforward with you.
Correct.
In terms of just telling you the truth, where I am, what I think, in order for you to determine how you're going to negotiate for me once you go through that process. And I think that's an important point, because everybody wants to put their best foot forward in a relationship. Nobody wants to tell their banker or their accountant when things are going wrong. But those are the things that help you get the entire picture. When things are going wrong, when they're going right, plans that are in place. And so the more you know about me and the more I share with you, the better you can be my advocate then.
That's correct. That's correct. I had a conversation just yesterday with a client who we're looking at, his loan is maturing, so it's ballooning. And we had the frank discussion about what are the next steps. And he was a little hesitant to tell me, what things that he had been working on his business plan and strategies in order to generate additional revenue and how that played into the pool of funds that could go to service his debt. And so we had to have that frank conversation. Tell me what's really going on, because I'm missing something. So we'll see the numbers, but behind those numbers is a story, and I need to know that story, because if I'm going to represent you, I need to understand the whole story. I didn't go to law school, but sometimes I feel like I'm a lawyer.
Well, you are. You're dealing with people's money, their assets. I mean, that's as legal as you're going to get. It's a combination of both of them. Well, that's important. And we may not get to all of the etiquette, banking etiquette action steps, because I think this part is really, really important. That when I come to you, first of all, normally as a business person, I'm coming to you because I think at some point in time, either I need you now or I'm going to need you later on. But I'm really not sure what I'm asking you to do for me. And so what I bring to you is what I think I'm supposed to bring to you, if anything. But what you're telling me is that I should be coming to you with the expectation of letting you know everything about me, good or bad, so that you can help me to find the direction to grow and become what qualified, bankable, something like that?
Bankable, and help you achieve your goals. It's a negotiation, and understanding the whole process helps that process in terms of when I'm presenting you to a client. But yeah.
So everyone knows the deposit disbursement relationship, transactional relationship. What other things does the bank do for a business that you feel are important that business people know?
I think from other products other than what you just mentioned, there are treasury products, sort of like a lot of people don't think of how do I process an ACH? And ACH is when you're going to somebody sending you, instead of doing a wire, they're just making a payment on your behalf, or you're receiving a payment and they're doing it as an ACH. So if you're sometimes using your check card, it's swiped and it's converted to an ACH and takes some money out of your funds. Or when you pay your electric bill, that could be an ACH payment if you did it automatically set up that way.
Okay. And ACH is automatic clearinghouse.
Automatic clearinghouse.
Those of us who aren't in the business, that's okay.
Automatic clearinghouse. So those things help you turn your receivables faster. Whether it's merchant services where you're going in and actually swiping the card to get, so when you're the client or you have the company, I'm the client coming to you say, hey, I need to purchase something from you. I swipe the card. I want to make sure that my money is there, not immediately, but within 24 hours. So depending on the relationship you have or the bank you're with, a lot of the banks now own or have an agreement with the merchant card providers that within 24 hours your funds will be available to you. So you're not waiting 48 hours or longer. So you make sure that you're getting those services properly. And that's part of what I do. I look at payroll. We offer payroll services. So are you getting the best bang for your buck on your payroll program? Because those are things that affect you and your bottom line, your expenses.
Sure.
So we would do expense control, and we also help you become efficient. So those are all parts of what a bank does. We don't just take money and you borrow it from us and we pay a little interest on it. It's a lot of moving parts there.
Well, you know, that's really, really important. And it's a point that I hope everyone gets, because cash is king. But the efficient and effective use of cash, especially just getting it to you as quickly as possible, are things that can make or break a business, can make or break a payroll. You know? That's really important. Folks, Marvin and I didn't have a chance to get to all the banking etiquette, but if you ask Marvin back, I'm sure he'll show up. Meanwhile, I need you to remember some of the things that Marvin shared with us about a banking relationship. It's starting early, making that relationship early, having the documentation available and sharing with the banker so that they can get a picture of who you are and who your business is, which is extremely important. Being very frank and level with the banker about who you are, what your plans are. Marvin mentioned the business plan. That's something that you definitely need to have. And just go sit down and become bankable. We'll see you next time. Take care.